So memory cards. Again, tons of variables as far as memory cards go. Really, you got to start with what camera you're going to use. Make sure you know what kind of card your camera takes. Typically, the most standard cards are either SD cards or compact flash cards. It really depends on the type of camera you're using, because even Sony, most bigger Sony cameras like the FS7, the F5, the F55, they take their own proprietary Sony cards. So you got to remember if you need to rent that extra for that camera, or what DSLR you're shooting on. The older DSLRs or the bigger, more expensive DSLRs will usually take CF cards, whereas the newer, smaller, younger DSLRs will end up taking SD cards. It really kind of depends on what you're doing. They're all flash-based, so that's good. Another thing to remember is really just the write speed of your card. You need to make sure you get something that's fast. I would always recommend at least 60 megabytes a second. This was a 64 gig at 95 megabytes per second. This one's a little bit slower at 60 megabytes per second at 32 gigs for a CF card. But you got to figure out what camera you're using, how fast it needs to write, how much you're going to record, and what your project is. You need a lot of cards. Can you fill everything up on one card? Can you spread it across multiple cards? You want to put all your eggs in one basket. You got to really figure out what your project is and how many cards you're going to need. You could also download on set, have a DIT. It depends on the level of what you're shooting at. I really like the C100 here that we're shooting on. It does take SD cards, and I usually stick to 64 gig, 95 megabytes per second card, which will last me all day. I've shot a wedding on them before, and it will kill. I'll never have to replace the cards all day. Which is great. I've also shot narratives where we'll shoot on smaller cards so that we can keep rolling and take them out, dump them so we can use the footage, play with the lights on the computer so we see what's going on. So it kind of depends on the project you're doing. The big thing to take away is that you make sure you have enough space and it's fast enough for this particular camera that you're using. I don't want to get into all the details of all the cameras because every camera is different. You really have to research how many megabytes per second your camera is advised at taking and how much you're going to shoot. Remember to go back to the resolution. Are you shooting 1920 by 1080, or are you shooting 4K, which is going to eat up tons more space because it's twice the amount of information. So just remember what you're shooting, figure that out, and then figure your card situation out.